Well, hello there. Sweet, right? That's my harmonica. Welcome to Lo-Fi Quasi Audiovisual Podcast number 2. I'm DJW No Name or whatever. Bob is fine from the completely fictitious Professional Disc Jockey Hall of Fame. Last week, the goal was 6 views. We did it. Darn right we did it. We took down the sleeping spider. This week, next up, Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. Get ready, Miley. We're coming for you. It's been a good week in New England. The Boston Bruins win the NHL Stanley Cup. The place is going crazy. Big hockey. Being from the only region of the United States where there is no NHL hockey, real exciting to be here. Real exciting. But what happened to the Vancouver Canucks? They started the series winning the first 2 games, then lose 4 of the last 5, denying the amazing Vancouver fans, not as good as Boston, but denying the amazing Vancouver fans what would have been their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. On a scale of big-time chokes, losing 4 out of 5, they're guiltier than a $2 whore eating an $8 pancake. Which honestly, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like homespun wisdom, which I always like. However, did you see the riot footage after Game 7 loss in Canada? Burning overturned police cruisers just for good measure? It made Seattle's WTO riots look worse than Adam Morrison's mustache next to Raleigh Fingers, if we're going old school. Wow, Adam. Wow. Spokane's best basketball player since John Stockton. But we both love rage, and you were very nice to me at Coachella, so we're cool. And you had Taj over for tacos last month, which is extra cool. I won't make fun of your mustache. I'm sure he's like a businessman now, selling cars or something. In addition to the riots, been a good week for riots. Also been a nice run for Wiener Entendre and Innuendo, thanks to Anthony Weiner. Dare we call it a good stretch? Big ups to the most famous, now former congressman for all the wrong reasons. Even here in Rhode Island, we get the New York tabloids, the Post and the News, which have been doing work, son. Serious work. For example, the Post, Wiener's rise and fall. Hide the Wiener. And after President Obama blasted him in an interview saying if it was him, he'd resign, one of the best. Obama beats Wiener. But perhaps my favorite of all didn't come from the Post. It came from the New York Daily News. Wiener's pickle. Part, part of me almost feels kind of sorry for him. I mean, what's he gonna do now? He was a professional politician. He's got no other discernible skills, and that's the one gig he can't have right now. Professional politician. If only there was something out there that'd be a perfect fit for Mr. Wiener. I mentioned with the Stanley Cup, life is good in New England. It's good in Rhode Island. I'm slowly still easing into it. So far, I haven't heard any expressions that I wasn't aware of before I got here. Rather, ones that I'm just not used to frequently hearing in conversation. This week's educational Rhode Island vernacular of the week. Sorry, it's been in my hand the whole time. Just wanted to use it. Real talk. As in, his girl is straight tripping. Kids gotta figure that out. That's real talk right there. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. Some of the favorite things that I've overheard in Rhode Island over the past week, I promise all these are 100% true. These are not fabricated. These are not made up. I've heard all of these in the last 7 days. I'm not white. I'm Italian. Which, when a little odd, but when I brought that up to somebody else, someone else says to me, I don't know what it is about being out here, but white is the worst thing you can be. So, luckily, as an aspiring black actor, I've dodged that bullet. In Rhode Island, and this is something else that I heard, in Rhode Island, they always hate you before they love you, but when they love you, they'll love you forever. Which doesn't necessarily bode well for moi, since I'm pretty sure everyone who's ever hated me is still locked in. They're locked into that one still. And maybe my favorite. I think I just almost ran over a Fisher cat, which is this ugly ass part bear, part beaver thing. I haven't seen one yet in person, but I guess they're mean, as you might guess from something that's half bear, half beaver. Before we get back to the questions we submitted last week for my main man, my best friend, Pastor Mike, it's time for a segment that I've just invented. I'm going to use the harmonica again. No, actually, I got more instruments in my lo-fi bag, I tell you. It's time for the Scientology Slight of the Week. Because I love making fun of religion, especially Scientology. Here we go. Tom Cruise. It's his turn this week. See, you're off the hook, Kirsty. Tom Cruise is so committed to fighting thetans and spreading the good Scientology word. The last time that I was tricking on Sprague, the $3 bill that Cruise put in my underpants had a picture of L. Ron Hubbard on it. That's your Scientology slide of the week. So last week, if you caught the podcast, or if you didn't, I have a new best friend. I started going to church. You can go back and listen to it. I kind of explain it. But Pastor Mike is my man, and I asked him the following questions, and I said I'd get back to you this week. I will do my best to whip through these without the help of my trusty tambourine. So I asked Pastor Mike, why are Methodists so awesome? He said the unique combination of personal salvation with the social justice gospel message. Says we hold the two together, always have, always will, which I guess make Methodists awesome. And then I asked him, where are we on the gays? And his answer is lengthy. He says, confused, debating, struggling, trying to not split over the issue, like our friends the Episcopalians and now the Presbyterians, in the midst of church-wide splits, revolts over the issue. I asked if the gay folks, our gay friends, can be full-fledged church members. He said yes, they can indeed and are full-fledged members of our church. I asked, do we believe that something is wrong with them? And he said, yes and no. He said, we have a strange hybrid of rulings from our general conference, which I suppose is ahead of the Eastern or Western Conference. He says there's nothing wrong with homosexual orientation, but the lifestyle and practice, living the life, is not God's best way, we say. Many in the United Methodist Church disagree with the official church position. Count me in that latter camp, because I think God made gay folks just the way he wanted to, but what do I know? And lastly, do we recognize gay marriages? Pastor Mike says if the state recognizes them, then we will too. We will always follow the state on these things, or always have followed the state. And lastly, I asked, do Buddhist monks go to heaven? Pastor Mike says they sure do. Moving on to the... Thank you, Pastor Mike, by the way. You are the man, good sir. You're the man. Love you a lot. Music picks for this week. Two Door Cinema Club, the pride of Belfast, if you don't count all the other things from Belfast. General Fiasco is one of Jamie T's buddies. That's all you need to know. And his name is General Fiasco, which is great. And lastly, Danger Mouse and Daniel or Danielle Lupi. I don't know why I'm trying to pronounce that. I've never heard it said aloud, so I'm sure I'm doing it wrong. But they put out this new album. It's Jack White and Norah Jones are featured on a ton of tracks on the record. The Jack White is featured on the single, which is called 2 Against 1. It is a real standout. Moving on to this week's closing thoughts. You notice that Rosario Dawson is in that new Zookeeper movie? I expect Kevin James, the mall cop, to make movies alongside imaginary talking animals, but Rosario? I love this picture, and I love my man Timberlake. I love our brother-in-law Eli. This is my last night in Washington State. They drove over 4 hours to have cocktails. I'll never forget that. Even though I'm a little taller than she is, speaking of great pictures, the best Eggs Benedict in the world live at this lady's restaurant. That's Tam of Tams in beautiful Pullman, Washington. And lately I found myself flipping over to BBC America quite a bit on the telly, which I'm pretty sure makes me a douche. And lastly, life is short. Eat the cookie. Until next time, mecca lecca hiney ho. Bye-bye.